Wrigley Field, by Kevin Doolan, Rachel Lazar, and Glenn Weber. Wrigley Field was built in 1914 for the Federal League Chicago Whalers, and it was originally named Weegham Park after the Whalers' owner Charlie Weegham. Opening day was on April 23, 1914, and ended in a win for the Whalers, although at the time of building there was few complications and conflict. The choice and location in the heart of the Lakeview neighborhood would lead to a majority of conflicts. The cost of construction for Wrigley Field was fairly inexpensive, costing just $250,000, and it was a quick build taking only 50 days to complete. The capacity was a small 14,000, but over the years that would jump to a high of 50,000. After the first season, the capacity was increased to 18,000. In 1916, the National League Chicago Cubs moved in, and have played there ever since. Opening day was April 20th, 1916, and the Cubs defeated the Cincinnati Reds 7-6. In 1920, Weegham Park changed to Cubs Park because Charlie Weegham no longer owned the stadium. Because of the Cubs' popularity, they were selling out almost every game, which led current owner William Wrigley Jr. to begin expanding the seating area and playing field in 1922 through 1923. This led to the first conflict encountered by Cubs Park. The expansion gave Cubs Park its famous, dog-legged shaped grandstand that the fans loved, but the critics hated because it was too easy to hit home runs. However, Wrigley ignored what the critics said until 1937, partly because of the small space he was allowed in the Lakeview neighborhood, and because of the cost. He did expand more in 1927 to accommodate the growing popularity of the Chicago Cubs. In 1927, Cubs Park was changed to Wrigley Field. The expansion of 1927 through 1928 added an upper deck to the grandstand, increasing the capacity to 35,000. From the 1929 season through 1946, the Cubs led the major leagues in attendance. In 1929, 1932, and 1935 the Cubs made it to the World Series, and to accommodate the huge crowd they added temporary bleachers on Waveland and Sheffield Avenue, increasing the capacity to 50,000, the largest that it would ever be. This also gave Wrigley the idea for the bleacher addition of 1937. The bleacher expansion of 1937 was inspired by the ever-growing popularity of the Cubs, and to please the critics, who have criticized the layout of Wrigley Field since 1922. Philip K. Wrigley, who had inherited Wrigley Field from his father, didn't want to build a new stadium to please the critics, so he decided to add bleachers and extend the playing field to make it harder to hit home runs. This increased the capacity to 40,000. However, it did lead to a conflict among players. The spectators sitting in the center bleachers made it hard for the batter to see the ball, making Wrigley Field one of the hardest parks to play in. Because blocking off those seats meant losing money, Wrigley was very reluctant to change things. The scoreboard that is now seen at Wrigley Field was also added in 1937 with the bleacher addition. It is one of the only hand-operated scoreboards still remaining in the major leagues, and one of the trademarks of Wrigley Field. Although some modern improvements have been added over the years, such as an electric message board underneath it and TVs inside of it to help the workers follow other games and keep the scoreboard up to date, nothing about it has really been changed. In the early 1940s, Wrigley finally decided to give in to the players' complaints and close off the center bleachers, resolving yet another conflict with little fuss. This lowered the capacity to 38,000. Eventually, trees would be planted in the empty seats to add to the beauty of Wrigley Field. In 1941, Wrigley decided that he wanted to install the lights to help modernize Wrigley Field, but he changed his mind at the last moment after Pearl Harbor. He chose to donate all of the materials to the war effort. The war also brought down baseball popularity, so the lights were not needed. Afterwards, the Cubs lost popularity because they were doing quite poorly. It wasn't until the 1980s that lights were needed, and at that point there were ordinances against installing lights. So, by not installing lights in 1941, Wrigley Field hit one of its biggest conflicts ever. In 1981, after 60 years of the Wrigley family ownership, the Tribune Company bought Wrigley Field and the Chicago Cubs for $20.5 million. Although this did not immediately lead to problems, by the end of the 2007 season there would be huge conflicts over the future of the historic Wrigley Field. In 1989, the Tribune Company also decided to add mezzanine suites in between the lower and upper deck to better accommodate big parties. This increased the capacity to 39,000. From the time that the Tribune Company bought the Chicago Cubs until 1988, they had been fighting the city of Chicago to allow them to install lights. Baseball Commissioner Peter Ueberroth told the Cubs that if they did not install the lights, all postseason games would have to be played at a nearby stadium with lights. The Tribune then threatened to move the Cubs out to the suburbs if the city did not give them permission to install lights. This changed the city's stance on the matter, and they finally compromised with the Cubs, allowing them to install lights, but only allowing 18 night games a year plus all postseason games. This number has drastically increased over time. Throughout the 2005 and 2006 off-season, the bleachers at Wrigley Field were renovated and expanded. To continue to please the batters, a suite was added to the center bleachers surrounded by trees to keep the glare out of their eyes. Mayor Daley was very reluctant to let this pass, but after much compromise he did. In return, the Cubs had to donate a set amount of money each year to bettering the Lakeview neighborhood. This helped increase the capacity of Wrigley Field to 41,000. In early 2007, the Tribune Company was sold to Sam Zell for $8.2 billion. Almost immediately, he announced that he would sell the Chicago Cubs and Wrigley Field. He later announced that to help settle the Tribune Company's debts, he would sell Wrigley Field and the Cubs separately. This includes the naming rights to Wrigley Field, which could bring in $400 million over 20 years to the Tribune Company. This would ruin one of the most visited landmarks in Chicago with around 3.1 million visitors a year. Many people are working to solve this conflict through compromise, one of which would be the city possibly buying Wrigley Field. But no one can know what will happen until it does, and that we'll have to wait just a little bit longer. The end.